tonight as it relates to some situations that a lot of people have found themselves in because of COVID and because of the pandemic and all the difficulties of this season that we've been in, and this little couple 3 weeks that the government was supposed to shut down has turned into an entire summer. And now we're looking into, I noticed our own local government has extended the mask mandate until November now. And so this thing's not going away. And unfortunately, for a lot of you out there today that's watching me, some of you have had jobs that have went away, and income that's went away, and opportunities that have went away. And so we want to just take a few moments tonight and encourage you, but more than just encourage you, more than just pray for you. I have got a wealth of information sitting with me in a career coach named Carrie Aaron. And so we are so glad, Carrie, that you are with us here this evening. And we're going to get right into conversation because I know you're a peer author with me, and I've actually got your book with me. And so we're going to talk some about that this evening. But before we do that, I want to say hello to all my viewers. Come on, Icon, go ahead and greet me. I can see your responses. And just like every Wednesday night, every Sunday, we're going to reward the most engaged viewer. And so what I need you to do right now is to take a real quick moment and share this. It may take you 30 seconds, but it might change someone's entire future. So share this, tag somebody that you know that's out of a job, tag somebody you know that's feeling stuck and they don't know how to get out of their current situation. And I want you to make sure that your friends know about what this conversation is tonight. And the most engaged viewer, if it's all right with you, Miss Carrie, I'm going to give your books. So we'll cover the cost of it, and maybe you can sign it for them and send it to them. And
absolutely,
we're going to take care of that. So go ahead and get ready to be one of our most engaged viewers tonight, and we're just gonna bless you and help you tonight as you pursue your future. And so, Carrie, tell me a little bit about yourself. Welcome to Icon Church Live XP, and so we are so thrilled to have you with us. Tell us about you, where you live. I heard some dogs in the background a little while ago. Tell me about who you are.
Well, let me see if I can show you my shirt here. Oh, awesome. It says Neuse River Golden Retriever Rescue. So I do dog rescue with Neuse River Golden Retriever Rescue. I also work with Triangle Beagle Rescue and another Love Mutt Rescue. So I've been doing dog rescue since 2005. So I foster and fundraise. I just finished a birthday fundraiser. My birthday was Monday. So I did a Facebook fundraiser. It raised a little over $600 that will be going to the Neuse River Golden Retriever Rescue. Obviously, most nonprofits right now are really struggling, because and we had two major fundraisers set up for this year, and both of them had to cancel because of the situation. So I do that. And so my background is I'm a project manager. In fact, it popped up this week on LinkedIn along with my birthday was the fact that I've now 23 years I've been teaching project management classes all over the world, all over the U.S. to major corporations. And about 12 years ago, I started doing career coaching as well, added that in there. And it kind of happened because my 5-day project management classes, customers or clients were saying, we don't want 5-day classes, we want 3-day classes. We want you to shorten them and so forth. So I had more time at home, wasn't on the road as much, which actually was kind of nice. And so I started volunteering at, it's called Colonial Baptist Church. It's the local church here in Raleigh, North Carolina, where I live. And I would go in there and help people because my background in project management and certified project manager, I teach project management certification. And project management, by the way, I'm not necessarily pushing that, but the project management certification, the field itself is probably one of the most versatile fields there is because everybody uses project managers, right? I mean, whether it's a publishing company or a church or healthcare or whatever it is. And so it's a very versatile career field. And so I thought, I could add some real value here. So I started volunteering there. And at the same time, I ended up joining a firm that I still contract with, a company called Lee Hecht Harrison, who does corporate um, talent management, if you will. And for companies like I can't tell you how many times I've been to Cisco when they laid people off, or Novartis or Lenovo or IBM. And I go in there and I help people with their resumes and their interviewing skills and so forth. So I've been doing this for quite a while. And, all my corporate clients, they get these nice packages from their companies. But then I meet people at the Colonial Baptist Church for the job seeker group there. And so many folks are struggling. They don't have the nice package. They may not have worked for a company that gave them a package, or maybe they work for a smaller company, or quite frankly, I've seen lots of unemployed pastors there as well. They've been laid off from the church. I mean, I never thought a church would lay off people, but I guess they do as well, right? So, and these people are struggling because they don't have. Now they've lost their job, and depending on how long they've been working, I mean, I meet people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. They've been working for decades right out of college, and now they have no clue how to find a job. And when a lot of the folks started that might be my age, there wasn't all this social media and LinkedIn and all this type of stuff. So the job search process has changed over the years. And even if you're newer to the job market, if you're younger, in your 20s or maybe early 30s or something like that, the thing is that some of folks like myself and a lot of people I meet who started with IBM and they thought they would retire there, it's just not the way of the world nowadays. So if you're in your 20s or 30s, you may have already been laid off a couple of times, because that's the way companies are doing now. They hire people, they keep them a couple of years, they turn them over, or they're bought out. There's an acquisition, there's a merger, there's something happens that people, it's just shorter tenure. And the average, get this, the average tenure of people nowadays in jobs is 4.2 years.
Wow.
That's the average tenure. And for millennials, they say it's 2.8 and less. So the reality is that whether you are fully engaged and working right now, you could be out of a job in a couple, I hope that doesn't happen for anybody, but throughout our careers now, it's going to be a lot more churning than there ever has been in the past. And so skills that people need nowadays, they really need to know how to find jobs. Mm-hmm. And not just in my book, Project Career Quest, it's not my goal to just help people find any old job. It's my goal to help people find meaningful, purposeful work, Right. And I think we all have that.
Yeah, let's talk about that just one moment, the meaningful purpose work, because what we were talking about before we went live was the concept that God created us, of course, for a purpose, and we're the most fulfilled whenever we begin to identify that purpose and we begin to function in that purpose. That is the most enjoyable part of life on the earth, is whenever you can get into that flow, as Carrie, our coach, would say. But I was looking at Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, and everyone here at Icon knows that this is one of my go-to verses as it relates to the divine DNA. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, it says that God placed Adam in the garden to tend and to keep it. And so whenever God created humanity, created us to fulfill a purpose. He created us to fulfill a task and a function. And I look at it as literally, he's given you a domain to rule and to steward. And these functions and these tasks are what causes you to feel fulfilled. And what is it that Jesus said? Jesus said, I don't live by bread alone, but by every word that the Father spoke. So in other words, the direction that the Father has given me, when I go that way, when I fulfill that word, then that's what nurtures me. That's what nourishes me. And oftentimes we find people who just get into jobs to get money, but money doesn't satisfy. It really is just a currency to buy and sell, to invest, to save, and to consume or to create. And so that aspect of it, if we're just trying to find a job to get money, then really the fulfillment is not going to be guaranteed there. I was also thinking about in Matthew chapter 25, whenever we see the talents, and we see this story that Jesus illustrates of a master who distributes talents. And each one of them, to one he gave 5, to one he gave 2, to one he gave 1. And each of those individuals had a choice to make with those talents. And so I want to ask the viewers right now, I want to say, what is your talent? What is, maybe some of you that have already identified your purpose, what is your purpose? Write it in the comments. And I want to read off some of those. Maybe tell me what your skill is. Tell me what your strength is. And I'm going to watch these comments and I'm going to just call you out, and we're going to just celebrate you, because as you begin to identify those gifts, those callings, those purposes, then you can pursue, as Carrie calls, your quest, and that is to find that perfect job, that perfect career that's going to be able to fulfill you and to be able to walk out in it. And so I'm looking over here and I want to see if I can find, okay, Kamal says his is human interaction. And so I know Kamal, and that is true. He is a master communicator as it relates to these one-on-one conversations. Let me see if I've got Yolanda that says hers is helping people discover their abilities and developing leaders. And I know that right now, I think Yolanda is actually in a job that she's thriving in that with. And so as we look at here, we've got Stephen, who is an instructor. We got Joan, who's an administrator. We've got an EMT, customer service. So we've got all of these people that are naming these gifts and these skills. And whenever they can begin to identify the one that matches their purpose, then we are going to see them begin to function in the highest level of fulfillment. Now, before I turn you loose, Carrie, because I know here's one thing I know about you, is you are hungry to help people. You are like ready to serve people. From the very first time that I met you and you're talking about your book, you're like, I've got to get this out to help people. And so I want to give you the opportunity to encourage our people and help them. And we're actually going to, I tell you what, I'm going to say this a couple of times, but she's actually given us a free PDF that's based off of her book. And so she said, you can give that away free. And so if you would like that free PDF, all you got to do is write the word quest in the comments, and then we're going to send that to you. We'll reach out to you and get your information. We'll be able to get it over to you. And so if you're interested in getting that free PDF, go ahead and write the word quest in the comments, and Jackie will follow up with you and we'll get that out to you. So one last thing before the pastor moves out of the way, Carrie, and I want to talk about Matthew chapter 25, as Jesus is got this this story that he tells about a master that distributes the gifts and the talents, and then he leaves and he goes away and he just leaves them standing there. And so you've got one that's got 5, you got one that's got 2, and you got one that's got 1. And the interesting thing about that story is the one that had 5 went out and put those 5 to work, and the scripture says that he made 5 more. The one that had 2 went out and put them to work, and the one that had 2 multiplied it into 2 more. So from 5 to 10, from 2 to 4. And the one, however, it says because of fear, went and buried it, hid it underground. And whenever the master returned, all he had was what he was given. He didn't do anything with it. He didn't multiply it. He didn't grow it. And so as I'm looking over here and as I see these different gifts, motivators, serving, customer service, here's my challenge to you. You've got a career coach sitting in front of you right now. And God's given us Carrie tonight. I want to encourage you to do is look at what's in your hand. What has God given you? And I want to challenge you and I want to charge you to multiply it. I want you to let that gift, that skill, that talent, that opportunity turn into increase, because it's in your, they're going to know I'm going to say this, it's in your DNA to increase. And so I want you to pay attention tonight. I know Carrie's got look at this book, Carrie. How many pages is this thing?
348.
348 pages, power packed. And so, all right, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to step back, and Carrie, I just want you to tell me about your book. Tell me what this book is going to do to help people in their pursuit and
Okay.
finding that job to fulfill them.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to tell you it's 348 pages, but don't let that scare you, because this book is written like a workbook. So there's pages in here for you to actually work through. So when you're trying to figure out what you want to do, and I saw a couple people over there who said that they're retired, but I actually have a section in here on retirement that says, you know what, even when you retire, we still all need a purpose to get out of bed every morning, right? And people will retire and think, oh, I'm just going to do nothing. And then they find out a couple months down the road, okay, I'm done. I'm bored now. I need something to do. And you know, I know this from my church, that my pastor says, there's nothing in the Bible about retirement. That came with one of the Roosevelt, or it came with one of the administrations, Truman or Roosevelt or someone who came up with the idea of retirement, which is kind of interesting because the retirement age when they came out with it was like, originally was like 68, and most people were dying at 64. So like that, you know, but the Bible itself never talked about retirement, because we all have a purpose on this earth until the day we die. Okay. And I have quotes in my book, and one of my quotes is, if I can remember it, it says something like, if you're not sure you have a purpose anymore, is if you're still breathing, you still do, right?
Exactly.
And I have to say this, you saw me take my jacket off before because I wanted to show you what I wore tonight for you, especially.
Woo! All right. Look at that.
Hey.
Everybody give a shout out.
And I got that one Sunday for being most engaged when I joined your service one Sunday, and they sent me this Divine DNA shirt in the mail. So anyway, so I wore that for tonight. And I have another shirt underneath, so it's not the long sleeve version or anything. But anyway, but
I'm hearing people scream in the building, so that's awesome. This is great. I love it.
You know, what I love about when I met Tony, I could tell Tony was very different when I first met him at conference a couple of years ago, and I really liked him right away. But when I got his book, and I bought his book, The Divine DNA, and you know, I feel like there's a really nice blend between your book and my book, because I believe that we all have a divine purpose that God has put us here for. Unfortunately, he doesn't necessarily go, okay, now that you're born, this is going to be your role in life, and you're going to have this, and you know, and like we all, you know, some people say, hey, I was 4 years old and I knew I was going to be a pastor, or I was, you know, 8 years old and I knew I was going to be a vet. Some people know very early what they want to do, and it may come from that voice within them or whatever, but most of us really go through that struggle of trying to figure out what it is. And one of the quotes I shared with Pastor Tony right before we got on here was another quote in my book that says, and it says, God's gift to us is potential, and our gift to God is developing it.
Oh, that's good.
And so yeah, I love that quote. And, you know, so we all have potential, but sometimes we have to figure out what it is, and we got to figure out how it fits together. And so my book, which is entitled Project Career Quest, which is really a combination of my project management background and the career coaching. And I will tell you that the best way, if you're out of work right now, to run your job search, is to run it like a project, because it is a project. And let's say that you've been laid off, okay? If you've been laid off, if you don't run it like a project, then it's going to take you a very long time to find a job. But if you go, okay, this is my project, and I call it Project Career Quest, right?
Yeah.
I had a lady in one of my classes, her name was Jillian. We called it Jillian's Journey. So I tell everybody to name your project. And I actually have, and it's in the PDF that Tony has to give to you all. There's two things on my website at carrieaaron.com, and one is a project charter. And if you'll fill that out, it might sound kind of intimidating, but it's really not, because I explain everything in there. And I say, okay, if I had lost my job, and I've done this with the job seeker group here locally, and I said, okay, first thing you got to do is, name your project. Call it Project Career Quest, call it whatever you want to. And then you got to assign the project manager. And I tell people right in there, and by the way, if it's your job search, you're the project manager, okay? Yeah. But then there are things that we do, and we people don't run projects by themselves. They have a team. So who do you need on your team? Is it a career coach? Is it Maybe you're struggling emotionally from this. Maybe you need to find your pastor, a counselor, or somebody to help you get through the emotional aspect of it before you can start making that progress. I mean, there's, so who do you need on your team? And so I take them through the project management approach, which says in every project, there are 5 processes or 5 phases, if you want to call it that. And one is the initiation phase. And that's when, okay, I've lost my job, so I need to start this project, right? And so if somebody's laid you off, your project's already started as far as that goes. Or if you're in a job right now that you're not fulfilled in, then you make a choice and say, you know what, I'm going to start looking. So I initiate my project. And then there's a whole section. The second is divided into 5 sections. The second section is on planning your project. So you got to plan what you got to do. You fill out your project charter. You go through. I have a checklist on my website that's free to anybody that wants it of what are all the things I need to do. Of course, I'm going to have to put together a resume. I need to have a LinkedIn profile. I'm going to have to do some mock interviews and practice interviewing prep and that type of stuff. So there's a whole checklist of things that I have on there. So this is the preparation process. And then there's the executing process. Okay. So now I've got to go out there and start sending out these resumes, and I need to start networking with people, and I need to be active on LinkedIn, and I need, certain things I need to do. And I need to, when I put out a resume, I need to follow up on it, and I need to interview. And if that interview didn't go well, I've got a tool on my website actually that helps people to go through after they've interviewed to say, what did I do well? What did I learn? Like project managers, they always do lessons learned. And so learn from this experience so that I'll do better in an upcoming interview if I don't, in fact, land this one. So then I have the executing part. There's monitor control that you do in every project where you manage from the beginning to the end. You monitor and control the results and ask yourself, are these the results I want? And if not, why am I not getting the results I want? And what do I need to do to, maybe go back to the planning phase or to modify my, to get better results, to get the results I want. And then there's project closeout. And project closeout is when you've landed that job, you still have to close out any open interviews. You've got, there's certain things that you can do to close out. And then the first 90 days on the job. And then even beyond that, you think, what do I need to do? And here's what everybody needs to make sure that you're aware of. What do I need to do to continue to be marketable? Okay. Because a lot of people think, okay, I got laid off, I got a job, I'm good. And I can just kind of relax and do my job and not, guess what? Again, 4.2, 4.8, whatever it is, the number is right now, it keeps going down. It's a little over 4 years that you could be out looking for a job anytime again, right? And we never know what's going to happen. So we have to remain marketable. And that's part of the closeout too, is what do I continue to do to update my skills and build my potential? As we say, God gave us the gift, whatever it is. And then our gift to God is to develop that potential and to continue to develop it. Because, and again, I would say those of you that are retired, at some point in time, you may find that you want to do something again. And it doesn't mean necessarily that it has to be a paid job. We call that an encore career for people that are retired. What's your encore career? It might be, hey, I can tell you a lot of people through Neuse River Golden Retriever Rescue are retired. They don't get paid a penny for doing the dog rescue, but they are out there picking up dogs from shelters and transporting them to the vets but they have a purpose every day, that purpose to get out of bed and keep going. And my father passed away a year ago, June, and he was 92 when he passed away. But I'm telling you, until he was in his early 90s, he was still serving the county that he lived in, and still on the on the vestry at church. And he would complain to me sometimes. He said, everybody keeps asking me to be on these committees. And I'm like, Dad, you're like, and he said he wanted to play golf, but he still served right up until he got to the point where he physically couldn't. But that kept him going. And that's why my father was so young and so vibrant until the day, until he got very sick at the end.
Right. Well, one of your chapters is actually called Getting to Know Yourself. And I think that perhaps sometimes, I think that's chapter 6, sometimes we pursue either dead end roads or we pursue situations that will never satisfy us because we don't really know who we are. And so I think that's what's unique about your approach. Number one, it's genius what you've done is turning this job search into a project management, and then of course broken it down into a simple step-by-step process for people who've never done project management. And so I think that what this offers for people is very strategic, but most importantly, it's this concept of getting to know yourself. And Carrie, as you know, says clarity attracts, confusion repels. And so whenever you know who you are and you walk into that interview, it's going to attract people to you, rather than when you walk in uncertain, that's going to cause people to push away because they know you don't know who they are, so they won't know who you are if you don't know who you are. And so
Sure, exactly.
tell me a little bit about this getting to know yourself section.
Okay. So let me start off with, well, when I would meet with people that have lost their job, and they would come in and they'd say, okay, I need help with my resume. And I'd say, okay, what do you want to do? I don't know. I was an accountant for 20 years, but I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, what do you want to do? What do you want to do moving forward? I don't know. And it was constantly that type of I don't know. And people don't know themselves. They may have gotten that first job right out of college, and it was, they just kept doing something. It was okay, and it was paying the bills and so forth. But now when they're out there looking, they're trying to figure out something that they're going to enjoy doing. And yet, if they don't know themselves, I can't even help them put together a resume, and they sure can't go into an interview, because one of the things on that PDF you're going to get are some of the questions that the interviewer will ask, and things like, what are your strengths? What are your core competencies? They'll ask you a lot of different questions, and people don't know. If you can't answer it, then yes, no, you're not going to get the job, because if you can't, people look at me all the time and they say, I don't even know what a core competency is. Well, guess what? You're going to be asked that in a job interview. And so the first thing, even before they can do anything, before you even go out there and start trying to find a job, is you really have to get to know yourself. In chapter 6, I go through so much stuff in there. And let me give you one of the examples there. One of the things that I ask in the book is, what are your likes? What are your dislikes? And I have places in here where you can write it down and so forth. And by the way, so I don't forget, on my website, when you buy the book, there's a password in there. And on my website, I have 57 tools and templates, so that, yes, there's space in the book to write, but you can also download the templates and write on their sample resumes. There's all kinds of sample things. But so I ask people, I say, I want you to tell me your likes and your dislikes. And I usually tell people, look, if you get stuck on your likes, start with your dislikes, because people almost always know what they dislike first, okay? And then I'll get the question, well, why do I need to know what I dislike if I'm looking for a job? I said, so that you don't end up getting the same things that you dislike in the new job. Because I see that people on their resumes, what they do is they tend to take one resume, and then, people don't like doing resumes. It's like almost like doing your taxes or something, right? So they'll make a few tweaks, change a few things. And it basically is the same thing. Well, you tell me you don't want to do what you used to do, but yet your resume reflects what you used to do. So your resume moving forward needs to reflect not what you used to do, but it needs to reflect using the skills and the competencies that you have. We still got to reflect what you have as far as your abilities and your skills and your knowledge, but we want to take that and write a resume that reflects the job I want moving forward.
That's really good, Carrie. Yeah. So I mean, I've never heard anybody say that before about a resume. And that's incredible information right there, because I think that you're right. Most of the times we are bringing to the table the past and saying, I want you to hire me for the future. And you're exactly right. It gets us in a job that just takes us in the past. Powerful.
Yeah. I've had research scientists that said, I don't want to work in the lab anymore. I want to do, we started doing project management. We're going to do project management work. And then they'll tell me, well, they keep getting calls from recruiters, and it's all for work in the lab. And I'll say, well, let me see your resume. And I look at their resume, and guess what it says? All it does is reflect all their lab work and very little about their project management experience. And I'm said, when somebody's recruiting you and they're looking at your resume that they found online, or you sent somebody or whatever, and it reflects the things that you used to do that you don't want to do, well, how do they know that? So you have to really be clear about what you want to do moving forward. What kind of life do you want? I mean, what really excites you? What charges your batteries? What lights your fire? What, those types of things. Think about all the jobs that you had. I mean, you can go back to the very beginning and think all the jobs that I've had And whether it's a paid job or a volunteer opportunity, okay? Like I volunteer with dog rescues, right? What is it that I like about that? I do Special Olympics. What is it that I like about that? So it doesn't always have to be a paid position, but it can be your volunteer work too. And think about, and you said the one guy before, he wrote that he liked interacting with people. So you're going to think about, okay, I don't want a job where I'm sitting at a desk in a corner and I'm not interacting with people. That's just not going to be a good fit for me. So you got to think about, again, what do I dislike and what do I want to do moving forward? And then your resume should be written reflecting, again, your knowledge, your skills, your abilities, but that are focused on the things that you do enjoy doing. Because, you know, again, if you enjoy doing something, it's not going to feel like drudgery. You're going to be more than happy to serve the people, whether it's through customer service or nursing or whatever it is. If you love your work, you know, and people will see that in you, and then you're actually serving people.
That is incredible. The things that we've got some people perhaps that are watching, I think I do. I've just been looking at some names and they're out of a job right now. What would be the very first thing that they should do?
Well, if they're out of a job right now, the very first thing, I mean, and I'm not saying this to sell my book, but I honestly believe the first thing they should do is buy this book, because I do because I was very specific in writing it for people who are out of work that are, you know, the first 3 chapters deal with the emotional aspect of it. So just to kind of understand that. And, you know, when people lose their jobs, one of the first things that happens to them is they tend to lose their confidence. Okay. They could have been a great worker, a great leader, whatever, but all of a sudden they lose their job and it's like, why me? And they start to question themselves, and they start to, you know, and I call them the gremlins in there, that all the negative self-talk and, you know, what did I do wrong? You know, that kind of stuff. And this is written for a secular audience, but I did kind of sneak some stuff in there every now and then. And one of the stories I have in there, which everybody knows, whether you're Christian or not, is the story of David and Goliath. And I share that story in there because, you know, David shows up and here's Goliath in the middle of the valley, and they're, you know, trying to get control of the valley, and everybody's afraid to fight Goliath. Well, David goes there and he says, I'll fight Goliath. And everybody's like, no, you can't fight Goliath, and you're just a young kid and you're too small. And, you know, and they, all this, you know, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. But David had full confidence in himself. And he said, I can do it. I've taken care of my father's flock, and I've killed bears and lions and all kinds of things. And he was fully confident that he could do that. But, you know, so sometimes we have to begin by slaying our giants and have to get our head, like I say, in the right place, so that we realize that, you know, and I do in chapter 3 in here, I go through the stages of adjusting to, it was Kathleen Kubler-Ross's book on death and dying, and the stages that people go through. Tony, you're probably familiar with that. And first we go through the denial stage, like, oh, it can't be me, you know, whatever. And then we go through the resistance stage, where we anger and apathy and all like that. And then we go through get finally into the acknowledgement stage, and then we acceptance and acknowledgement, and then finally adaptation, right? So, but we have to kind of get there. And that's one of the first things, is you have to get yourself there mentally. And that's what I try to do in the first couple chapters, is walk people through that. But then I go into here's an approach for you. And if you will put together a project plan and you will follow this, then your journey, you know, I can't tell you when you're going to land a job, but I can tell you, if you don't have a plan, is like, have a plan and work the plan, right? But having a plan, and I had somebody reach out to me several months ago after I published this book, and he went to high school with me many, many, many years ago. And he said his sister was looking for work. And he said, I ordered a copy of your book and I sent it to her. Then she reached out to me on LinkedIn and she said, Carrie, she said, thank you so much. I'm so happy for this book. She said, I finally feel like I have some control over my job search project, or over my job search, because she felt so lost because she didn't know what to do. Yeah. And one of the analogies, Tony, that I often have used in this is, I said, if you think about the job search, and I was doing this thing called Job Hunt July, I did 30, it's on my Facebook group page. If anybody wants to, I can give that to them later, because there's the whole 31 days of videos on there. And one of the things, I had a puzzle, and it's got all these little pieces of the puzzle. And I said, if you think about the job search, it's like this puzzle. And I think the one I had maybe 350 pieces. It's like all these pieces to the puzzle. And it's almost like when you're looking for a job, it's like the pieces of the puzzle aren't all in one bag. And not only that, but there's no cover on there so that you even know what it looks like. So you're just like, okay, even if somebody gave you all the pieces of the puzzle, like, I have no idea what this is supposed to look like. But what I've done in the book is I tried to give people, here's what it's supposed to look like. And here are all the pieces of the puzzle together. It's all here in this book, and you don't have to go out and search for it. Yes, you need to network, and there are certain things, but I tell you what to do, but you don't have to figure out, I didn't know I was supposed to have a LinkedIn profile, or I didn't know I was supposed to do this, or I didn't know I needed to do this, because I've got all the pieces there. And then it's just a matter, you still have to do the work, you still have to put the puzzle together, but you don't have to, it's not guesswork.
Well, I think that's one of the keys. And oftentimes we as believers, we just want to pray about it. And one of the teachings that I give is sometimes God's waiting on us, and we can stay in the prayer closet all day long and miss God and miss our opportunity. And what I see that you've created is a tool, particularly for people who are stuck or have lost their job, now to do step by step, creating a strategy to awaken within them their gift, their purpose. And then, I love it. You basically said it, set the atmosphere so that God's will can be accomplished in your life. Set the atmosphere. Right. You walk into a job interview, whenever you are given an opportunity, then you've already set the atmosphere and set up a win for your life. And I believe oftentimes, especially with people like you're saying that are struggling with this, either the depressing part of losing a job, the lack of confidence, the loss of confidence, they're actually burying their head in the sand, and they're not even looking up to see where God's working. And so, Carrie, let me ask you a question. And I want to remind everybody, if you want this PDF that Carrie has provided free for you tonight, just type in the comments Quest, and we will get that connected to you. We'll get that to you. But Carrie, how can people connect with you if they're wanting to go to the next steps with you? They want to learn more from you, because we can tell you are ready to serve. You've got tons of information. And like you said, they could buy your book. So how can they buy your book? How can they connect with you? And then I've got another idea I want to talk to you about after you tell everybody how they can connect with you.
Okay. And again, I want you to know that, I'm not here. I didn't write this book to make any money off of it. Truly, I didn't. It wasn't for that purpose. I wrote it because I hate to see people struggling. And I also hate to see people who only like, I got a resume and I'll just take any job. And I hate to see people that are in jobs that they don't like. And I did the dedication of this book to my father because he always did what he loved and loved what he did. And that's my desire for people. And I talk about in chapter 7, finding your purpose and your passion. And my true passion is not to, I really hate doing resumes for people. I really do. Okay. That's not my thing. And there's lots of career coaches, they'll do resumes and all like that. I can do them, but my real passion is to help people find their divine DNA, to define what it is that their real purpose here. And here's my little mascot guy. When I did my 31 days of Job Hunt July. And by the way, it's not, somebody guessed this to be Colonel Sanders. It's not Colonel Sanders. This is Mark Twain. This is Mark Twain. And one of my favorite quotes, and that's sort of my signature quote, is the 2 most important days of your life are the day you are born and the day you discover why. And what my goal is to help people discover their why. And I think Tony, the next book I write, it might be called The 3 Most Important Days of Your Life, or the day you're born, the day you discover why, and the day you take action. Okay. Wow. On that why. Awesome. And that's my passion, is to help people discover their why. But it takes some time. It takes some, working through, and that's why I put this together like a workbook, so that people, and with the 57 tools, there's currently 57 tools on my website, and I set it up so I can add more. But there's one tool called force field analysis. What a great tool when you know how to use it, on helping people to look at, the force field analysis is basically, here's my current situation, here's my ideal situation. Of course, that's hard for people to figure out what the ideal is, but once they figure out the ideal, Then we do the force field analysis, which is what are my restrainers and what are my drivers? And a restrainer is what's keeping you from getting to the ideal situation. And a driver is what's pushing you in that direction. And I help people go through that process of, looking at, figuring out what the ideal situation is for them, what their drivers are, how they can put some more force behind the drivers. But the main thing, the main movement you get is to reduce and remove and eliminate the restrainers, and I did it myself. I mean, I had 15 years in corporate America, and I did a force field analysis for myself, put a plan in place, figured out what my ideal situation was to go out and do training full time, put my plan in place. And some of the restrainers things that I did is I went back to school. I got my master's degree, which my company paid for. So I was in that corporate environment, so totally paid for by them. And I got my PMP certification, my project management certification from George Washington University. It took me 2 years to get all these things in place. It wasn't like it happened overnight, but at least I had a plan, and then I worked the plan, because once I realized what my restrainers were, and I didn't really have, but it was more like, okay, if I'm going to go out and teach this stuff, I feel like I need more credentials other than just a bachelor's degree, and I wanted to get more education and more, behind me. And so in 2 years, I put together, so those of you that are over there on the right-hand side and you're doing something now, but you might think, I like it, but it may not be the ideal thing. You can put a plan in place and work it. And I picked the date, and I shared this on many interviews, that my last day of school for my master's degree was December 19th. And my last day of work for Bell South, who I worked for in Atlanta, Georgia at the time, was December 20th. But I had a plan, and I worked the plan. And so whether it's, again, whether it's you're working the plan because you've been laid off recently, or you're working the plan because you're like, this is okay, but it's not the ultimate thing I want to do with my life. And that's where I have my passion, again, is to help people with that. So if you want to connect with me, it's my website. It's always hard to get these things quite right. It's carrieaaron.com. You can connect with me there. Tony, I'm, more than, I think on the handout, the PDF, I have an email address and other information there where they can reach out to me. And whatever I can do to help, that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Well, one of the things that I have in mind, and I'm going to just throw this out here and we can talk about this later, and I'm going to see if I get any response from the people online here tonight. And that is, we have something called the transformation journey that we are starting here. And a part of that is providing courses that help develop skills and opportunities and giftings, callings, so on and so forth. But I could see perhaps creating an opportunity for your book to become one of the courses in that we could potentially make available for people that were wanting to invest into that. And maybe we as a church could help invest into those individuals as well. So, Carrie,
Tony, I'm actually gonna,
yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, I'm actually just got this set up with NC State University, where I'm going to be teaching. We're going to start it out as a 3-hour workshop on the Quest methodology, which is what I explained what that is in the PDF. And then he, depending on how that goes, we might even turn it into a 3-day course. So there's tons of stuff there to help people. And again, you can hire someone to do a resume for you, but again, it doesn't really help you to put together a resume if you don't know yourself and don't know what really excites you,
Well, the whole package. And so I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your heart to serve. If we could, team, let's put up the carrieaaron.com so that they can see how to connect with her. There we go. Yep, there it is on the screen up there for you. And if you would like to connect with Carrie, go ahead and reach out to her on her website. I'm sure you can connect with her on there through her contact page. Otherwise, we will send you the PDF. If you would just write the word Quest in the comments, then we will get you the free PDF. And let me know, those icon people, that you are perhaps in that situation where you've lost your job recently, you are stuck in a job. Reach out to me on the side, send us an email at info@iconchurch.cc, and maybe I can connect you with Carrie as well. So we appreciate you, Carrie, joining us tonight. I need to find out who the most engaged viewer is tonight that's actually going to get this. All right, my most engaged viewer is Veronica Riley. And so let's all give her a hand clap emoji in the comments. And we are thrilled. So we'll be sending Veronica your book. And so we'll get her information. If you don't mind, I'll send it to you. We'll pay for it. And then you can sign for her. And then that'll connect you with Veronica. Veronica is an awesome woman of God. You're going to love her. And so we appreciate everybody being connected with us tonight. Let me remind you that we're continuing the series on Sunday, Unhackable Church. This series has been crazy. I'm loving it. The people are just going crazy. After the service on Sunday, just people talking about how they had been hacked or just how the message has been ministering to them. So if you haven't connected with the Unhackable Church series yet, you need to show up on Sunday at 11 o'clock. You can register online at iconchurch.cc/events. And you can actually join us in the house. We love it if you join us in the house. If not, then you can watch us online. Now we are actually broadcasting on our website at iconchurch.cc/live. You can watch it on Facebook. You can watch it on YouTube. We're just trying to expand our opportunities to reach you. And so we have a couple of other things that I want to make you aware of tonight. Number one, all my men, I need my Icon men. I need all of the men that are viewing here. Go to icon.church/Icon Man and register for the Icon Man Conference coming up October the 9th or the 11th. The early bird rate is still available until Monday night. And so you need to register. We have both an online only experience as well as an in-person experience that you can register for. And then also we are taking orders for our breast cancer awareness t-shirt, and that t-shirt is crazy. It is a black, I wish I had it, I could show you. It is a black t-shirt with a pink ribbon, but catch this, Carrie, the pink ribbon is actually scriptures that are written together. It creates the ribbon on the shirt, which says hope for breast cancer. And so we know that the true hope is Jesus. We know that he has the power to heal. And so we want you to connect with that. Is there a way for them to buy that t-shirt yet? Is it on the website? How do we get them to buy it? Can we put it on the comments or something like that? All right, so I'm going to put that on the comments. They are $20 each, and all the proceeds, anything that's above the cost of the t-shirt, is going to be going to support a organization that is doing breast cancer research. And so your gift on that is going to be incredible in helping those. So Carrie, thank you.
Mine?
Excellent.
This is the Kay Yao Foundation, and Kay Yao says, and I have this quote in my book. It says, "When life kicks you, let it kick you forward."
That is,
and that's
awesome.
from the Kay Yao Foundation.
Yep. Last year, I'm not sure if that it sounds familiar. Say that quote again, and we'll end on that.
Okay, so Kay Yao, who used to be several times, and she died of breast cancer, but there's a Kay Yao Foundation, YOW, and on her foundation, in fact, on the t-shirt that I have on underneath your t-shirt here is the big thing, and it says, I don't want to pull it up, I might pull up too much, but and it says, when life kicks you, it's actually on the PDF, you guys have a copy of it. It says, when life kicks you, let it kick you forward.
That is
I love
awesome.
that.
I love it. So one last time, if you want to get Carrie's free PDF, just write the word Quest down in the comments. This has been excellent, Carrie. Thank you so much. We were going to reach out to you to make sure we get your mailing address. We've got a free gift to send to you for being on our ministry tonight.
Thank you.
And so thank you.
Hey, you know what?
We'll make
this
sure
ties in with this ties into being unhackable in life, unhackable in your career. So right. So get to know yourself and develop your potential, right? And then you can be unhackable in your career. So
that is
thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. We love you guys. We'll see you on Sunday, 11 a.m. And it's going to be an awesome rest of the week. Blessings on you.